Welcome back, everyone. My name is Steven Rodriguez, and today you probably think you know what we're doing, but you have no idea. Let's get started. Before we get into the actual video, I want to apologize to you guys for being gone for so long. I think it's been like almost 10 days since I've recorded and posted a video, and I'm so sorry, but a lot of things have been happening for me. Let me just list off a couple of them. I flew a plane, I played golf at Torrey Pines, my dad turned 50, my cousin turned 30, I participated in 2 back-to-back Digimon TCG tournaments, getting second place in both of them. Don't worry, deck profiles and reports coming soon. So a lot's been happening with me. I had to just take a break and kind of live my life and have some fun and enjoy myself, and honestly, it was a lovely time. But I'm back in the saddle. I'm getting back to making some content, and I thought a really cool way to get back into making some content would be to open these 3 starter decks that I've been having lying around my house for like the past month, and so I'm very excited for that. I will also be doing sort of a comprehensive competitive breakdown of each of these decks, which ones I think are the strongest, the weakest, etc., and then giving you guys some recommendations on how many to buy of each one, if you should get 2 copies, if you should get 1 copy, so that way you guys can help maximize your budget or optimize your budget when the actual English release happens later this January. Alright y'all, now that you know what today's video is going to be about, don't forget that I plan on posting 2 Digimon TCG videos every single week for the foreseeable future, so if you're as hyped for the English release as I am, be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell for notifications so that you guys know when my videos go live for you. Also, be sure to leave some suggestions for videos you want to see. I've heard suggestions like deck building guides, online software reviews, deck profiles, etc. Leave down below your thoughts, your feelings about what you want to see for the Digimon TCG, and hopefully I can make it for you guys in the future. Also, if you guys want to just follow me over on Twitch as well, I do talk a lot about the things I'll be talking about in today's video over there. You guys can come bring me your suggestions there live and in person, and we can have a fun time. Links to that down below, as always. Alright, now that all that has been taken care of, let's go ahead and hop over to the unboxing setup and get these boys opened. Alright, boys and girls, here we are at the unboxing setup. Like I said, I have the 3 Digimon starter decks to open, the current 3 Digimon starter decks to open. Heaven's Yellow, Gaia Red, and of course Cocytus Blue. Now, I've kind of already done like a little mini unboxing of Cocytus Blue during the New Evolution box opening that I did for you guys a while back, so if you guys want to check that out, by all means go ahead and do so. I will of course do a more in-depth one right now where I go over all the cards pretty much and give some really good explanations as to the playstyle of this deck, as well as what I think it can do and what I think it can't do, etc. But I will save this one for later. Now, between these 2, personally, I do actually really love the Heaven's Yellow one, so I'm going to go ahead and save that one for before the Cocytus Blue, and then we're going to start with probably everyone's favorite, Gaia Red. And here, guys, hope you guys are excited. Let's go ahead and get started. Turn on the face cam, and let's do this. All right, first things first. The only complaint that I have about these starter decks is that they are extremely, you can see, I had to literally rip the box open to get it out. I don't know what it is about the current stock for Digimon TCG cards, but they create a lot of friction with these boxes, and I really do like the box, actually, so I was hoping to kind of save this, but you know what? It's whatever, it's trash now. So here we go, we got the nice little 54 card deck. We have these little cool things in the back that kind of explain the rules / give you some really cool memory counters. All the starter decks have these really nice. They come in their respective colors of red, blue, and yellow, but here we are, the main 54 cards. We have a 4 Digitama in Koromon. Koromon is a really cool Digitama. He allows you to get plus 1000 DP if you have 4 more Digivolution sources. Really nice. We have, of course, the 4 Vanilla in Biomon. Biomon is going to be a really good card for, say, Turbo Red Onion decks in the future. It's very cheap to play unless you be very memory efficient, but it's also a really good, just nice vanilla card to have. 3000 DP is actually pretty high for most rookies, considering that a lot of them have inheritable skills, thus making them sort of lose DP. So having these actually can come in handy because they can actually swing at security a lot and not die, depending on what you're fighting against. Next up, we have some of the best cards actually in red right now. We have the red level 3 Agumon with the awesome inheritable skill of plus 1000 DP during your turn. Really nice to get your level 4s and your level 5s, maybe even your level 6s to have much more DP, so that way they can swing at those securities and not die as much. Super nice. Next we have 4, I think this guy's name is Dracomon, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but he is going to be your last level 3 in this deck. You get 12. He's going to be another vanilla 4000 DP. Now these kind of like ratio here of like 8 vanillas, one with more DP than the other one, and then of course 1 inheritable skill is going to be the same throughout all these, but we will have different Digimon that do different things in this slot, but then of course the same things on each of these. And the cool thing about Dracomon, by the way, is that he's 3 cost instead of 2 cost, but he has 4,000 DP, so we can actually swing over or even suicide with other level 4s that exist, which is actually kind of cool. So there we go for the rookies and the level 3s, really nice. Moving on, we have 4 vanilla level 5s. These are going to be Bergermon. Bergermon has 5,000 DP, 4 cost to play, and 2 cost Evo. Very standard, nice little vanilla level 4. I'm actually a big fan of the 5,000 DP level 4s because most level 4s that aren't blockers are going to be 4,000 DP, so being able to swing over them or even kill them when they're in the security is actually really nice and speaks to how powerful red can be sometimes, because if you give this like a plus 1,000 DP effect, it becomes 6K, which is super dope. Up next, we have the staple 4 red blocker in Cordramon. I think his name is Cordramon Green or just Cordramon Regular. Now, the funny thing about all these starter decks is that these are actually the only way to get the red, yellow, and blue blockers. They don't actually come out in the sets. You can only get these blockers and the ones that come out, and these ones as well, in the starter decks. So if you want your blockers for the color you're planning on playing, whether it's red, blue, yellow, or even all 3, your only way to get them will be these starter decks. And blockers are very important to have in any game you play of Digimon because they're essentially your best way to sort of not die against your opponent. Up next, we have the probable best card in the red deck, our 2 Greymon level 4. This guy's inheritable skill is security +1. He just gives whatever evolves from him security +1. He is probably the best champion in the entire game of Digimon right now because plus security attack is so strong in terms of late game swings as well as just overall pressure in the early game depending on what ultimates you have in your deck, and it's honestly super dope. Up next, we have these 4 Bergermon level 5s. Has the really cool on Digivolve skill to give plus 3,000 DP to whatever you have on the board, which is super cool. Honestly, it's not the most important red card you'll ever see in the actual color, but it's really nice for this starter deck because it does add to the overall ability to sort of make your dudes really big and then give them extra security checks, so that way you can swing for game against your opponent. And then 6 cost to play, and then 7,000 DP is pretty standard for level 5s. Up next, you have the 4 Metal Greymon. These are the rare level 5s you get in the starter deck. He's actually a really cool one because he has a really cool inheritable skill that says when attacking, if this Digimon gets blocked, you gain 3 memory, which is super cool. The idea of this deck, like I told you guys, is to be kind of aggressive against your opponent with extra security checks, and the main way that you try and like stop that as your opponent is to block those extra security attacks. So you kind of punish your opponent by having their main way of stopping you basically be turned off, or you get value from it, which is super cool. So I do like this card. Pretty cool. I think the Memory Borrower Metal Greymon that comes out in the booster set 1 is actually going to be a bit better than this card, but he's better than nothing at least. All right, moving on to our level 6s and our megas, we have our 2 copies of Ho-Omon. This is going to be the 12K beat stick. For red, I think these cards are actually so valuable, especially in the future once we get Turbo Omnimon, and just overall is actually a really consistent card because being able just to play this thing on turn 1 can actually be really beneficial for you in like starter deck meta because like most decks don't really have the best forms of removal besides cards like, you know, Gaia Force or even Cocytus Breath. And if it's Cocytus Breath, it just comes back to your hand, then you just play it again next turn. It's pretty funny. So I do actually really like this card in terms of just like the starter decks in a vacuum, but I also like this card for the future of red because having really cheap Evo cost level 6s is super strong. And then finally, we have the main card of the deck, the starter War Greymon. Let me just get a look at this. I love the way this holo looks. It just looks super clean, really nice. And honestly, the photo of like the slash on the right side, making kind of like full art, even though it's like not textured or anything, is actually super cool. He has basically 1 skill, which is going to be when he attacks, for every 2 evolution sources he has, he gets +1 security. So like, let me just give you guys an example here. If you have like a full stack here of everything, right? You have your dude, your dude, your dude, and then your little egg D dude over here. You just build it up. He has 1 security check, 2, 3, and he actually gets 4 if he has the starter Greymon in there. So you actually can swing for 4 damage with 1 dude, which is super cool. If they block you, you gain 3 memory, you can play more things. He actually gains 1,000 DP, so he's 13, swinging for 4, which is actually super strong. So this basically is like the main thing you want to kind of shoot for in this deck, which is super fun. If you want to put in Agumon in here as well to give even more DP, you can. Alright, so that wraps it up for the Digimon of the red starter deck. Let's talk about the tamers and option cards. First things first, the only tamer in this deck, we have 4 starter tie. Really simple. When he's in play during your turn, all your Digimon get plus 1000 DP, really strong. He also has the security skill to be played if he's checked from the security, so he just gets put right in the tamer zone. Super good, 2 cost, really simple. Not the most crazy thing in the world, but hey, better than nothing. Being able to make these dudes super big is nice during your turn. I wish it worked during like the whole time, that'd be pretty cool, but it does not, sadly. Moving on to our option cards, we have 4 Wing Blade. This is just the generic 1 cost, gain 3000 DP to one of your Digimon. Really simple and it's cool, but the other effect, the security effect actually is like the main reason why this card, if you ever want to play it, is played. Because if it's checked as a security, all of your Digimon get security +1 until the end of your turn. So if you check it during your opponent's turn, that means you get it during your turn, and then afterwards they all go away, which is super cool. That's a lot of damage coming out of nowhere. If you have like 4 Digimon in play, that's +4 damage that turn, which is pretty insane. Up next, we have 4 Starlight Explosion. This card's actually really interesting to see in red. Not really seeing a lot of these effects actually besides this one. It's a 2 cost when played effect to give all of your security Digimon until the end of the next turn plus 7000 DP, which essentially makes them swing over everything once your opponent attacks with them. Which is super cool. And then the security skill, of course, is going to be the same exact thing, but on security skill. So it's not actually the main effect, it's just to give it all of them during that one turn, not the next turn, of course. Up next, we have 2 copies of Giga Blaster, which is going to be the 6 cost and destroy up to 2 of your opponent's Digimon with 4000 DP or less. This card is nice. I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world, especially in starter deck meta or even for red, because you have so much removal already through other cards that are going to be coming out for you in the future that a card like this just kind of gets power crept out really fast. But being able to check this as a security and kill 2 things during your opponent's turn is actually pretty sick. So while it isn't really doing anything like to be played on your turn, it's more to be played for the security effect more so than anything else. And finally, we have the best card in red. We have Terraforce. I'm gonna slap a photo of the alt art Terraforce for you guys on screen so you can see how beautiful it looks. Isn't it beautiful? Okay, here's regular Terraforce. If you guys don't know, 8 cost. When played, destroy one of your opponent's Digimon. Anyone you want, blow it up. It's awesome. And then the security effect is when this card is checked, use this card's main effect. So during your opponent's turn, if they hit this, you can kill anything you want. Mega, level 7, level 5, level 2, doesn't matter. Everything dies. This card is the best card in red. It is the best option card in general. Having removal for whatever you want, whatever is causing you a problem, just gets deleted. Super strong. So there you guys go. That is the red starter deck. The overall strategy of this deck is going to be very aggressive, getting your dudes to have lots of DP and lots of security checks and sort of punish your opponent for trying to play around you doing that. I think a really cool opening play that you can do, especially if like you're playing against other starter decks, is just going to be to just like literally plop down a Ho-Omon turn 1 if you have in your hand, and then say, can you deal with this? No? Okay, swing while you build up like your other things here in the corner, and then you just like get a big War Greymon set up and you swing for like your last things and you swing for that. Super, super strong. Any removal the decks have, as long as they're not red, can't really deal with these too well, so it's actually a really nice way to sort of just make your statement, basically. Red's a statement deck. Like, here's my victory, can you stop me? No, you lose, which is super nice. So, red's very powerful, very aggressive. I like it a lot. Let's go ahead and move on to yellow. All right, boys and girls, here we are with the yellow starter deck. Like I said, we just gotta rip it open. Sorry, we can't be saving these things because they are impossible to open otherwise. Throw that away. We got the code cards plus the memory markers. Super cute, don't need them. And boom, we got the 54 card deck with the 4 Digitama. First things first, we have Tokomon, the only Digitama you get in this deck. Probably my least favorite Digitama. No, there's like this weird yellow fluff ball thing that comes out that's even worse than this, but really an interesting effect. Once per turn, I wish it wasn't once per turn. If it wasn't once per turn, it'd be really good. But once per turn, when one of your opponent's Digimon's DP is reduced to 0, this Digimon gets power plus 1000. Really nice and heritable. Makes your dudes a little bit stronger, but all these cards in yellow are super weak in terms of DP that this 1000 doesn't really help out as much as maybe you think it would. With Shine Greymon too, it gets a little, like, in the future, it gets a little redundant, honestly. And like last time, we have the 4 vanilla 2-drop and then the 4 vanilla 3-drop, Salamon and Tapermon, 4000 DP and 3000 DP. Like I said, vanillas, evolve into them, play them hard down, nothing too crazy. Having 4000 DP is nice though to swing against potentially other level 4s or even level 3s. And we have the only inheritable skill rookie, Patamon. This is by far my favorite yellow inheritable skill. If you guys don't know what it does, it's similar to Tokomon in that once per turn, whenever an opponent's Digimon DP is reduced to 0, you get +1 memory. Have you seen a pattern here of what yellow might be wanting to do? That's right, they lower opponent's DP to not only remove threats, but also just to make Digimon weaker so that we can proc effects like these or just swing over them despite having maybe weaker DP compared to other Digimon. You almost never really want to hard play any of these rookies besides like Salamon. So Tapermon and Patamon, you're going to want to try and evolve as much as possible. So, just keep that in mind in the future. Up next, we have the 2 copies of Angemon, the first level 4 of the deck. 5 cost to play normally, 2 cost evolution, 4000 DP, and he has the inheritable skill of when attacking. I think if your security is 4 or more, you get +1 memory, which is super cool, adds to your memory count, which can be nice to extend your plays. We don't have anything like booster set TK or crazy like memory gainers like Kari, so getting that extra memory can really help you play stronger things or just play more things on your board, which is super nice. Up next, we have 4 copies of the vanilla level 4 Gatomon, same thing as Bergermon, 4 cost, 2 evolution cost, and then of course 5000 DP. Lets you swing over things. With all the reduction you have in this deck, actually, you can probably swing over a lot of things you might not have been expecting to swing over, which is super nice. And of course, we have the 4 blocker for yellow. Only way to get this blocker is through the starter deck, and it's Unimon. Super cool, the horse that saves lives. By the way, guys, if you didn't know, the blockers basically, like when you rest, he becomes a new target of the attack, and whenever they attack, you get -2 memory, in case you guys didn't know what these guys actually do. All right, moving over to level 5s, we have Magna Angemon, the rare level 5 of the deck. I honestly do not know why they made this the rare level 5 of the deck, because frankly, I think he's kind of bad as a level 5 inheritable, but his effects are inheritable when attacking, choose one of your opponent's Digimon, and it gets -1000 DP. That is so bad. In set 2, actually, we had a card called Geo Greymon that minus by 2000, and he was a level 4. So this card got power cupped out real fast, and compared to some of the other level 5s you have in yellow, this card just sucks in comparison, but for the starter deck, it's not bad, I guess. Lets you swing over certain things if it has like 1000 more DP than you, I guess. This is the real level 5 of the deck. This is like the best level 5 in yellow before Rise Greymon comes out, I think, and that's going to be Angelwomon. She's a 6 cost to play normally, 3 evolution cost, 7000 DP, and she has a really awesome on Digivolve skill that says if you have security 3 or less, you get recovery +1, which means you take the top card of your deck and you put it in your security pile. So if you have only 3, you can go up to 4. If you have anything less, then you can go up to the next number, which is super, super dope. Love this card, really strong. It'll be played probably in every yellow deck until better stuff comes out. Moving on to our first level 6s, we have, of course, the 2 vanilla Magnadramon. Same thing as Ho-Omon, really good. If you want to like hard play this really fast, by all means, go ahead and do so. You can swing over other. A cool thing here is that you could swing over other vanillas if you have this plus this, which is kind of cool. You just go 12 to their 11 now, which could be a really cool way to just kind of swing things in your favor. That's a cool mechanic that can happen, but otherwise, it's going to be a really good thing to have in your repertoire because it's super consistent and really nice. And then finally, we have the main star of this deck. We have Seraphimon. I will say, I love the art of this card. This card is legitimately like, if you're gonna have a sexy card in yellow, it's gonna be Seraphimon, and they did a great job. Now, he's like all the other ones, except he only has 10,000 DP. He's 12 cost to play normally, 4 cost evolution, and then 10,000 DP. That's kind of low, but given the way yellow plays and reducing DP and stuff, it kind of makes up for it. And then he has the on attack effect to minus any Digimon by 4,000 DP. So he can actually kill any Digimon that has 14,000 or less DP by just swinging at it and then minusing it, which is actually kind of cool. If you have Magna Angemon, you can minus by 5. So like, I guess like I understand why Magna Angemon isn't like anything more, because in this deck particularly, it would have been kind of broken to be like -6, -6, -6. But you know, -5 could be pretty cool. In the future, we'll get cards like Shine Greymon and of course Seraphimon. So this card will be crept out real fast because they will be coming out at the same time as like Booster Set 1. But you know what? In terms of just like starter deck meta and like the decks in a vacuum, it's pretty strong. Alrighty, that's enough for the main Digimon. Let's go ahead and move over to the Tamer and Option cards. Now, normally Tamer cards are actually really important in yellow, but in this version of yellow, it's actually not the biggest deal in the world. So all we have are the 4 starter TKs, much like Tai, he's 2 cost, security effect to be played when checked, and then his main skill is all of your is during your opponent's turn, all of your security Digimon get plus 2,000 DP. So normally when you check the security, you'll reveal Digimon, he has 10,000 DP, but thanks to this, he'll have 12,000 DP. So he can actually kill things that are stronger than him normally, thanks to this card. So it's a really nice way to get removal during your opponent's turn if they ever want to swing at your security, which is super nice. Yes, this effect does stack. Same thing goes for tie as well. So you can get like 4 ties plus 4,000 DP during your turn. If you get 4 TKs plus 8,000 DP during your opponent's turn to the security, you get the idea. All right, moving on to option cards, we have the 4 Gate of Destiny. Basically, this is again the 1-drop plus 3,000 DP to any one of your Digimon card. But its security effect, when it's checked, basically says that all of your Digimon and security Digimon get plus 5,000 DP for that turn. So it's actually super cool because essentially it does what TK does, but it also does what like a lot of your other cards do. So basically makes your blockers like 11,000 DP, makes your other dudes big. So if you like swung with an Angelwoman, she's now 12k base. So if your opponent wants to like swing at her, they can't do that. It's actually really cool. Sadly, it's a little too easy to play around because you can just attack the Digimon first and then attack the security, but you know what? It's fine. It's a cool card. They might not see it coming. You never know. Up next, we have 2 copies of Heaven's Charm. This is a simple, just 2 costs, reduce one of your opponent's Digimon by 2,000 DP, and then the security effect is when revealed, add it to your hand. Super cool. Up next, we have 4 copies of Fire Tornado. So this is actually a really unique card, and I think it's currently the only yellow card that minuses security. I'm not sure, there might be others in the future, but its main effect is for 2 cost. You can target one of your opponent's Digimon, and until the end of their next turn, it gets -3 security. So you can basically give them negative security checks, which I don't think does anything, but if they ever want to add security checks, they need to add at least more than 3 to have any security checks at all. So it's actually a really cool effect, and the security effect, when revealed, I think targets all of your opponent's Digimon, and they get -1 security check. So you can essentially make all your opponent's Digimon just not hit you, which is actually super, super sweet. If I'm wrong, I will include overlays of like the English translated cards, that way you guys can know what these cards actually do in case I'm mistaken on what I think they do, but I'm pretty sure I'm been spot on so far. And finally, the last card of the deck is going to be the 2 copies of Strike of the 7 Stars. This is a 7-drop. Target one of your opponent's Digimon and it gets -10,000 DP. Super strong. And then, of course, the security effect is when revealed, activate this card's main effect. Super strong. It removes pretty much anything that isn't a vanilla level 6 or really a really powerful level 6. I wish it was -11. It could target more things that way. You'd be surprised how many things are 11 instead of 10. This card does get a little bit power crept out once Glorious Burst comes out, and I think Glorious Burst will come out during the first setup for English, so sadly, I don't think this card is actually going to be as good compared to cards like Terra Force or even Cocytus Breath. And there you guys go. That is the yellow starter deck. The main strategy of this deck is going to be just kind of have as many Digimon as you possibly can, keep them alive for as long as you can, and then in the process try and get recovery through cards like Angelwoman, get reduction on your opponent's Digimon, try and kill any of their weenies using Seraphimon in the very late game, or use like a Seraphimon to get like some big dude that you're annoyed with out of the way, and then using cards like Fire Tornado, you can have more longevity against your opponent, so the more units you have just like swinging constantly at security, the more closer you get to victory. So it's kind of a grindier deck compared to like red or even blue, but it's a really solid strategy, and it'll get lots of fun tools once the first set comes out, so there's a lot of room to improve on for these strategies. All right, that's enough of yellow. Let's go ahead and move on to Cocytus Blue. All right, boys and girls, here we are. Time for Cocytus Blue, the very last one. Now, as I've said, I've opened this one before for you guys, and I've done a lot of these starter decks already, so there's gonna be a lot of repeats in this one, so I might speed through so that way we can get to the actual discussion on price guides, what I think of these decks competitively and comparatively to each other, etc., etc. So we have the fun tokens, the fun markers, that's fun. First things first, we have the 4 Sumemon. This is going to be the Digitama for this deck. He's actually a little bit different than the other Digitama we see. He doesn't just give a generic 1,000 DP. He only affects when you attack an opposing Digimon. So his effect specifically says, when this Digimon attacks an opposing Digimon that has no Digivolution sources, you get plus 1,000 DP. So he lets you swing over other Digimon. He does not let you just get generically stronger. So he's actually a little bit worse compared to Tokamon and Koromon. And as always, you have the 3,000 vanilla, level 3, and the 4,000 vanilla DP in Goemon and Bearmon. Standard stuff, we've seen it before. Then we have the 4 inheritable skill level 3 in Gabumon. He's actually a really cool one in that he adds the main Digivolution source sort of punishment in blue, which is actually a really cool mechanic that I like a lot. His effect specifically is when attacking, target one of your opponent's level 5 or less Digimon and remove the bottom Digivolution source from it. So an example would be like if I have a Bearmon here, with a Sumamon underneath and I swing with the dude who's got the evolution or whatever, I can remove the bottom one. But say there's like this, I can't like be like remove Bearmon. It has to be the bottom one, so it's got to go bottom, second bottom, so on and so forth. If it says top, this is the top, and then that goes that way. So there's only like 1 or 2 cards I think in blue right now that actually targets specific Digivolution sources targeted by you and that you choose, but these effects you can't choose. It has to be like in the order that the evolution sources are in. So just keep that in mind moving forward. All right, that's it for the level 3s. Moving on to level 4s. Of course, we have the first vanilla level 4 in Ikakumon, 5000 DP, standard just like Gatomon and Bergermon, makes sense. And then we have the inheritable skill level 4 in Garurumon. I love the art on this card, it looks so cool. The blue blaster coming out of his mouth, honestly love it so much. This game crushes the art game. This card's effect is when attacking, similar to Gabumon, you can discard the bottom Digivolution source, but you can do it for any Digimon, not just level 5 or lower. So keep that in mind, really cool effect. I don't think it's the strongest one though. I think it's actually the weakest one compared to Angemon and Greymon. But Greymon is the best inheritable skill for any level 4 in the game. And then Angemon is just like really nice because it gives you extra memory, which lets you extend plays. And then of course we have, rounding off the level 4s, the 4 blockers in Grizzlymon or Grizmon, whatever you want to say. And again, I cannot stress this enough to you guys. The starter decks are the only way to get the blockers for red, blue, and yellow. If you want these cards in your deck, you're gonna need to get starter decks, and they are very important for keeping you alive against your opponent who's swinging at you all the time. So just keep that in mind, boys and girls. All right, moving on, we have probably the best level 5 in all of these decks. Maybe Angelomon's a little bit better compared to this one, but the rares, the rare level 5s, we have Garurumon. Same stats, 737, and he has a really cool inheritable skill that when attacking, if your opponent has a Digimon without any Digivolution sources, you get security +1. So he's a security +1 level 5, which is super cool. He's a bit slower than a card like Greymon, but he's a really powerful card, and he plays into your main strategy of wanting to reduce Digivolution sources. Plus, people just like hard play stuff all the time, so you don't even really need to have cards like Gabumon or Garurumon in your deck to actually get value out of this card. Your opponent can just like misplay and give you no Digivolution sources, so you can just activate the effect right away, which is super cool. Finally, for level 5s, we have the 4 Zudomon, which is the level 5 evolution. When Digivolved, you can discard the bottom 2 Digivolution sources from your opponent's Digimon, which is super cool. Getting rid of 2 is really nice. He's actually a really fun way to sort of mess with your opponent / maybe trigger other effects in the future, like Vicamon or even Sorrow Blue. But the really fun thing about this card is that you can remove pesky eggs like Upamon, or even like pesky level 3s like Labramon, Patamon, Agumon, etc., etc., etc. in the future. I really like this mechanic of getting rid of sources because it feels like you're messing with your opponent's main strategy, and I find that really fun. In the future, there's gonna be a really cool level 7 deck that like revolves around putting so many things in your evolution stack that you get like all these effects for red and black, and this card, or this kind of effect, can really mess with that strategy. So it'll be interesting to see how the meta evolves once set 3 comes out and we get more skills like this. That's it for level 5s. Moving on to level 6s, of course, we have the 2 Plesiommon, the vanilla 4 blue, 12k, 10k play, 2k evil cost. We've seen it before, we know what this is. And then we have the 2 Metal Garurumon. Look, there's literally a shining ray from heaven with these cards. I love the full art nature of the SRs in this game. I think they look so good. The way they bleed out of the borders here just makes the whole card like pop and come alive. I think it's beautiful. Same thing, 12 for 11,000 power. So we go Seraphimon 10, this guy 11, and then more Greymon 12. Neat little fun thing there for you guys at home. And then he has the really simple skill of when he attacks, once per turn, he becomes active again. So he's essentially a double attacking card. When you combine that with cards like Garurumon and Gabumon, you can clear out evolution stacks. You can trigger effects like your Garurumon when you swing the first time. So it's actually a really fun way just to have like 4 security in one turn. So it's actually a really powerful card in terms of the strategy of this deck and how you can like build a really powerful Digimon. So that's actually kind of sick. All right, moving on to the option and tamer cards. We have 4 2-drop Matt or Yamato. Huge apologies for the last time I did an unboxing. I kept calling this boy Hamato instead of Yamato. And the reason for that, guys, the honest reason, is I had just watched a bunch of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and I was mixing him up with Hamato Yoshi, aka Splinter. So apologies, but come on. My mouth makes mistakes all the time. Why are you guys gonna call me out? Okay, moving on to what this card actually does. Same thing as the other ones. When you reveal the security, play him. His effect is start of your turn. If your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution sources, get +1 memory. Again, it stacks. You only really get like massive value out of this card if you ever get 2 in play. And then like you get like +2 memory every single turn, which is kind of cool. I don't really think he's like the best tamer you can be playing in blue overall. There's definitely better ones in the future that come out, like the promo tie or... Okay, moving on to my favorite option card in blue, and probably the second best option card ever is going to be Vulcan's Hammer. Steven, plop the photo of the beautiful alt-art Vulcan's Hammer / Hammer Spark on screen. Look how beautiful it is, boys and girls. Look how beautiful it is. Okay, this card, very simple, 0 cost. It's free. You get +1 memory, so just get boom. And then its reveal skill is when checked, get +2 memory. So if your opponent's ever at 1 memory and they check this card, they get -2. So it instantly becomes your turn because it crosses over the 0 and it becomes your turn during their turn. Really powerful effect. This card being free is stupid, but also makes sense why it's free. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense with the effect that she did. This card is busted. It is the second best option card, and I'm so happy we have a full art alternate art for this card. I cannot wait to get my hands on those because they literally are so beautiful. Up next, we have the 4 copies of Sorrow Blue, which is actually a really interesting effect. It basically is like a halt on whatever your opponent's trying to do, because you can, for 2 costs, target any one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution sources, and it cannot attack or block until the end of your opponent's next turn, which is super cool. And the on-reveal effect is actually super cool in that when you check it, you can target anyone with no Digivolution sources, and it cannot attack or block until the end of your turn. So you can literally go, okay, that thing can't attack anymore, and thus you don't lose. So it's actually a really fun way to sort of survive, / just like stop your opponent from killing you, / trying to survive, because you can actually target blockers. So if the blocker is just sitting there with no security or no sources, you can just be like, stop it, it can't block me, swing for game. Super cool little mechanic right there. Up next, we have 2 copies of Wolf's Claw, which is a really cool effect. 4 cost. When played, you can target any Digimon in your Digimon Digivolution stack, and you can call it, or sorry, play it, I should say. And any on-play effects do activate. So here's a quick little example here. I have a full stack here of the boys in blue themselves, and I just activate this effect. I can choose to just call out this Garurumon right here, and boom, it's played. Now again, that gets all the things associated with being played, which is on-play skills, as well as summoning sickness, so you can't just instantly attack with it, but it is a really cool, valuable thing to have. And the really valuable part of Wolf's Claw is that when he's flipped, you activate the main effect. So what's really interesting is that, say I did the exact same thing here, but during my opponent's turn, so I go flip it, I can now call this out, and now it can attack because the ending of my opponent's turn counts as the ending of a turn. So summoning sickness goes away at the start of my turn, so I can actually swing with this Gabumon now, which is super dope. And finally, boys and girls, the last card in the blue star decks, of course, Cocytus Breath or Ice Wolf Claw. This is a really, really powerful removal card for blue. Kind of the only removal card outside of Omnimon, I guess. And it's really simple, 7 cost. Target any one of your opponent's Digimon and return it to their hand, and discard any Digivolution sources. So if I just choose this and it has this, I play the Cocytus Breath, this bounces back to my hand, this goes put in the trash. Pretty simple. And then of course the security effect is activate this card's main effect. So when you flip it, boom, that attacker that was gonna kill me, guess what, it goes away, you lose now. Ahaha, very, very fun. And there you guys go, that is the Cocytus Blue starter deck. The main strategy of this deck, as you can tell, is the leading of your opponent's Digivolution sources to gain power, gain effects, gain draws, etc., etc. Try and get a wide board / things that can attack multiple times, and just try and grind out the game because you have more skills than they do, because you're getting rid of all the inheritables that these decks love to utilize. And there you guys go. Those are the unboxings for all 3 of the starter decks for the Digimon TCG. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this little showcase / demonstration of what all these cards do. Now let's head back over to me for a description of like which ones of these I think are the best, which ones I would invest money in, and which ones should you get multiple copies of. And boom, there you guys go. That is the unboxing for the 3 starter decks in the Digimon TCG. Again, the current starter decks of the Digimon TCG. There should be 3 more coming out pretty soon, so get excited for those. But I wanted to kind of do like a final little breakdown / analysis of the 3 decks, both in a competitive sense and like in an economic / buying sense. Because if you guys don't know, I actually do have an economics background from the University of California, San Diego. So I do kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to the economics of card games or the economics of business in general. First things first, competitive nature. Which deck is the most competitive out of the box? Obviously, the best one is Gaia Red because it has the best cards in it. I literally gooped about how strong Terraforce and Greymon are because they just are the best cards in the game in terms of inheritable skill and just overall options, which is super awesome. Also, the deck has a pretty sound strategy in being super aggressive and gaining DP and doing extra security checks, which is really strong and demands response from your opponent. And I've said time and time again that Digimon is a game of response, and if your opponent cannot respond to what you're doing to them, you win. And this deck basically is a statement deck. Can you deal with this? The answer is no, you lose. The second best deck in the Digimon TCG out of the starter deck is going to be Cocytus Blue, because similar to Red, it has a very sound strategy in that it has Metal Garurumon and all the other Garurumon accoutrements with Digivolution source reduction to kind of limit your opponent's ability to do things, / gain advantage for yourself in security checks, drawing cards, or extra memory. And then you can have all this into an ultimate boss unit of Metal Garurumon that can attack twice, clear boards, or just get 4 security checks in 1 turn, which is pretty strong. Sadly though, what it's gaining in terms of consistency and overall power, it's kind of lacking in sort of responses, because while Cocytus Blue is a removal card, it's not the best one in the game because your opponent gets to keep that card, so what's to stop them from just playing it again the next turn? So yeah, Blue is number 2. And then if Red's number 1 and Blue's number 2, that means Yellow has to be number 3 and the worst. I know Yellow's like my favorite color of these 3 and I'm super upset about it too, but it just doesn't have the same amount of presence as the other 2 decks do. There's no extra security checks. There's no way to just like have an outright, can you deal with this kind of play? And in Digimon, it's nice to have a play like that. And when 2 decks do and you don't, those 2 decks are probably better than you at being aggressive and keeping up game tempo. So that's a little sad. And their main removal card is Strike of the 7 Stars. And that can't even get rid of level 6s off the bat. So if you don't have enough memory to like go, okay, Seraphimon plus Magna Andromon or whatever, and then play 7 stars, then you can't remove anything super big. So it can be kind of hard sometimes to respond to your opponent compared to the other 2. I will say though that the strategy works really consistently, it works really strong, and you do have a lot of longevity in cards like Angelwoman and of course your removal, so that's really cool. Fire Tornado is actually a really cool card as well, to sort of negate any pressure your opponent can create against you, so you can make the game kind of drag out really long and then like grind out a victory against your opponent, but it does take more time, and the more time you have in a game, the more chances your opponent has to actually just beat you. So, you know, it was a double-edged sword there. But yeah, that's kind of gonna be the competitive nature of these 3 decks. I think it's actually a really good representation of the colors as a whole. You know, you have a lot of aggressiveness and power in Red, a lot of like control and advantage in Blue, and then of course a lot of just like hard control and longevity in Yellow. So basically, these starter decks are going to be like your ways to understand like which colors do I want to play. Do I want to play all 3, or do I just want to play red, blue, yellow, whatever? Having more knowledge about these colors and about this game will help you make those decisions later on, and that's why I'm making this video. Speaking of why I'm making this video, let's talk about my recommendations in terms of buying the cards. Let's go backwards this time. So starting off with Heaven's Yellow, should you buy 2 copies of this deck? No. Literally all the key cards that come in the deck, like Unimon or Patamon or Angelwoman, you already get 4 of. There's no point, I think, in buying 2 copies of the deck unless you really want 4 copies of Magnadramon or 4 copies of Andromon. At that point, just buy them as singles if you really want them that badly. I think for what decks are going to be coming out for Yellow in the future, as well as on release for English, having just 1 is more than enough. So if you want to play Yellow, congratulations. You'll probably be the cheapest one out of all 3 of these. Moving on, of course, we have Cocytus Blue. I think 1 copy of Cocytus Blue, the starter deck, is more than enough. And then if you want to get your 4 copies of Plesionomon so you can play Onimon Turbo, just buy them as singles because you'll be good to go. But if you want to have the 4 copies of Cocytus Breath as well as the 4 copies of Plesionomon, then getting 2 is well worth it then. But you know, get 1 to start, wait and see what the prices are, and then see if it's cheaper to get the singles, because if it is, why not do it? Save some money. Because the crazy thing about the blue starter deck is you already get 4 copies of Vulcan's Hammer, so this is not the best card in that deck, so you may as well just be like, I'm good to go, we're fine. Pretty crazy, huh? And finally, we have Gaia Red. This is the only, and I mean the only starter deck you kind of have to buy 2 of, because sadly, I'm pretty sure cards like Greymon and Terraforce are gonna be more to buy as singles than just to buy 2 of these, because yes, they're common cards, but the only way to get these cards is via the starter deck, and that leads to more hype, and that means they'll be bought out real fast. And if any of you guys are fans of my channel for a very long time, you'll know that way back I made a video about the economics of secondary markets, and when you combine these factors of hard to get cards that are really good and really hype, you get very expensive no matter what the rarity is, because there's only one way to get these cards, and really, really good. So my only recommendation in getting 2 is going to be Gaia Red. I'm sorry if your locals is selling these for 15 on release. That is not fair to you. That's a little expensive, I think, for what the decks actually are. But these cards are well worth it. And I've always been a preacher here on my channel and in life in general of when it comes to buying cards for being a competitive trading card game player, what matters isn't profit maximization, which basically means how much money you get in return for buying these cards. What matters is the utility maximization of buying these cards, just like the bang for your buck. What do you actually get out of paying for these cards? A cool like thing I always try and tell people before like they go buying for cards to help ease the pain of like paying a lot of money for pretty cardboard is ask yourself, what is my willingness to pay for these cards? How badly do I want them? Is the price $40? Is the price $80? Whatever it is, ask yourself, what am I willing to spend? And then look up the prices. And then if you find them for less than what you were willing to pay in your brain, buy them. Don't even question it, because that will lead to a more satisfactory purchase of your cards. You'll feel less bad. You'll even be more happy with the decision, because when you finally get to use these cards, you get the value you wanted and you did it for a price that you were okay with and not a price that you were not okay with. And if you're like me and you want to play all 3 of these colors on release, you're going to need to do a lot of research, and you're going to need to ask yourself, how much am I willing to spend to play this game as competitively as possible? You'd be surprised by the answer. Anyways, guys, that'll go ahead and do it for today's video. Sorry if it was super long. I blabbed on so much, but hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you guys have any lingering questions of anything that I brought up in this video, by all means, leave them down in the comments below, or better yet, hop into my Twitch channel. I go live every Monday, Thursday, Friday. I talk a lot about this kind of stuff over there, so if you want to come hang out and ask these questions live and in person and hopefully get some live answers, that's the best place to do so. Link down below, as always. And as always, you guys, I have been your true champion, Steven. Please be sure to work hard, rest easy, and live well. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.